didn't like the company down there, so I got back where I belonged.
I think we can all relate to that.
I got back, but most of my career, I think I was a 18 to 20 golfer, and then it began edging up a little bit. And so it's...
Any memorable moments that come to mind out on the golf course?
No, I always said that Lakewood, I thought, was a great country, a great golf course to grow old with. You really didn't have to kill yourself to play it. You know, there weren't any great mountains to climb or any very deep sand tracks. Well, I've not so much in golf, but I did spend a lot of time at Lakewood Country Club working on the house committee. That's probably the most time I've spent. I probably was involved in that for 10 years or more, both as working on it. Merle Sanger was the first guy that got me involved in it. He was quite a detail guy, you know. We were at the back door weighing the meat in. But we had a lot of, then Sal Marino got me involved in it too. And eventually I became chairman of the House Committee, and then I had 2 terms as liaison to the board when I was a board member. So that was probably the biggest thing I did as far as actually...
When were you on the board? Was it in the 70s?
Yeah, back in the 70s. Clint Greenleaf was president, and then Don Burney was president. And that was just before Harlan, I think.
What were some of the outstanding parties you remember? I'm sure there are many.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I can understand it.
Well, I remember Jerry and I took a trip to Hawaii, and I came back with a lava lava, which is a Hawaiian skirt. So I wore that to our luau, and we had a wonderful luau. Tom Doherty was King Kamehameha and sat out here in front greeting everybody when they came in. And he was also our Santa Claus, and we helped him at all the Christmas parties. But many, many parties.
Tell us about the variety shows.
Oh, yes. Well, Henry Kruger put that together. And got in with there were a lot of them, most of them were doctors to begin with. But we had quite a time. Let's see, we did the ballet, we had our tutus, and I don't remember, I think we did 2 following acts. But we generally got up there and made fools of ourselves and seemed to get a lot of laughs out of the crowd, so.
Was that called the Follies back in the day, or the Lakewood Follies?
Well, it's when we had the club shows.
Okay.
I believe there was 3 of them. Hoot Gibson, it was amazing. Hoot Gibson, among his other many talents, and he was a talented guy, but he certainly knew how to choreograph and arrange and put on a show. I remember he did a soft shoe with Carol Given. You remember that, Vic?
Yes, yes. Yeah, it was incredible.
Yeah.
The age difference, and yet they were doing a dance that was just,
Yeah.
ballet.
Yeah.
And Hoot always, could really put on a show.
Yeah. But we used to have some pretty wild Lakewood days.
Tell us about those.
Oh, boy. Well, a lot of them I don't know if I want to put it on tape.
Don't mention names.
We had one member, and they gave him a shotgun, so he went around like a sniper in the woods there. And one of our members says, "I'm going to wrap that shotgun around your neck."
What was he doing with the shotgun?
Well, he'd wait till you were at the top of your backswing, and then bang, he'd let go of the thing. That was Zitzman, Jack Zitzman.
Oh, gotcha.
So,
Any other prominent golf events or
Nothing comes to mind. I probably will on my way home, but nothing right now that I
Playing
can.
the Invitational?
Yes. Oh, yeah. I played in the Invitational several years, and I had a partner from the east side, and we had great fun in those. Yes. Yeah. Played in all. It probably lasted maybe 10 years, something like that.
How about the green coat?
Green coat I never did much with.
Okay.
Mhm.
Did you play in the jamboree?
No, I didn't play in the jamboree.
Did you ever see a hole-in-one made here?
Just my own.
Your own?
Yes, that was on.
Brag about that.
Okay.
Okay, well that was on. That was on the old or the new 12,
Okay.
and I was quite fortunate because I was up. The marker was up about 140 yards, and I hit a 7-iron, and I had some guests. I had guests from Ohio Edison, and the guy said, "Geez, I think that thing went in the hole," and I did. But it was up at 140 yards, but it came out in the plain dealer that I had a hole-in-one with a 7-iron from 160 yards, the nominal distance for the club. And I always remember Rich Buzzin called me Monday morning. He says, "You never hit a 7-iron 160 yards." Yeah.
The accuracy is good all the
Yeah.
time.
But I just had a lot of fun playing golf, and certainly I played. No, I particularly enjoyed club championships, and you know, you get a good guy and have a match, and it's really a lot of fun. And I signed up for the club championships every year until recently.
Well, it sounds like you entertained a lot of guests and clients out here, but did
Yes.
you play like on Saturdays or Sundays in the morning?
Oh yeah, it started out my wife. She had Saturday morning, and I had Saturday afternoon. But I think today, you know, it's really different. I look at my son with those twins, and frankly, he doesn't have any time for a country club. And he's booked solid. He's calling me, and I was at a football game with him last Saturday morning. He's leaving there, and he's going with the girl over to her cross country, and they're just booked solid with those kids. I think it's a it's entirely different atmosphere out there today than it was then.
Yeah,
But we came through at a pretty good time, and business was good, and maybe more fun, wasn't it, Vic?
Yeah,
Than
right. That's so
is,
cutthroat
yeah.
and demanding.
Well, it's gotten very impersonal now.
Thinking back to your days on the House Committee and on the board,
Mhm.
any major events or milestones that happened under your watch?
Yeah. Of course, we had the usual chef problems and club manager problems, and geez, I had Boyer. Guy was with the phone company. He was a vice president in charge of personnel. So I snagged him for the House Committee, and I figured, gee, if a guy can handle personnel for the phone company, he ought to be able to help us here with the country club. But the chef came to us, and he was an outstanding chef. He was doing a fine job. And he said, well, if you don't fire the manager, I quit. So those are the kind of problems we had, and they were sort of insoluble. We had everybody happy with the food. The chef's doing a fine job, but ultimately we decided we just couldn't let him run the club and decide who was going to be manager. But things like that, they're just the usual House Committee problems. I think.
About throwing some old names at you. Remember Carl Ben Butel at all?
Oh, very much so,
Tell
yes.
us about him.
Well, Carl was a tough old bird, and he was a pro when I joined. And his wife, Emma, ran the pro shop, and she was just as tough as he was. But we had a long steel pipe up there on the first tee, slanted down, that you'd, when you got to the tee, you'd drop your ball in it, and that's designated when your tee time was. But if he didn't see you with 3 guys, he wanted all 4 guys there. Boy, you weren't allowed to drop that ball in the pipe. He wanted to see all 4 of them. Because we started out in the old clubhouse, and we were very comfortable there. The old clubhouse was nice. That was a fun place.
Tell us about that building.
Well, it was nice. The porch was the bar for the mixed on the main floor there, and a nice dining room. And upstairs was the women's locker room, and downstairs was the men's. And there was a men's grill downstairs. It was very tight, but it worked fine. I wasn't too much in favor of building this place. I thought, geez, I'm here to play golf. And we had a big porch on the back. And for a while we were what they called pre-residents, which means we had limited golf privileges. But we got going on Tuesdays. A bunch of the pre-residents would get together and play golf, and then use the porch for a big party. That went fine. We started bringing a barrel of beer in, and that didn't go too well. But that was a lot of fun.
What do you recall about the mood of the club when it was time to build the new clubhouse? I mean, was it 50-50 in favor or not in favor? Or?
I would, Dave, what I remember, it'd probably be 50-50. A lot of guys, but they had Hoot Gibson go in there, and he'd take pictures and tilt the camera so they'd show how the clubhouse is falling down.
That's the old clubhouse.
Yeah, that was the old clubhouse. Yeah, well, that's the way you do it. You know, it cost us a fortune to maintain this place, and but the mood in general, well, then they got this clubhouse, and it was fine. Of course, it's been added on to substantially since then. I remember we had a folding door downstairs that would open and close, and it was, one side was the men's grill, and then at 4 o'clock it'd open up, and it was the mixed grill. Other names from the past were Bill Rawlings and Bob Leach, and geez, we spent a lot of time with those guys, and they were really, really wonderful people.
Tell us about Bob Leach.
Oh, Bob Leach was probably one of the funniest guys I've ever met, and one of the greatest guys. He, great sportsman. He was married to Carolyn Sutphin, and her father was a major sports figure around Cleveland. But Bob was I think, a wonderful salesman. He'd be a hard guy not to buy from. And he still got one of his kids, I think Jeff, is running the business now. But we spent had a lot of parties, and he was a very close friend of George Lights.
He was a storyteller, I always.
Oh, yeah. Oh, he had wonderful story. He knew all the Browns, you know, the football players, and he had a lot of football stories. And we had football players out here then. We still do now. I see some of those young guys running around the locker room downstairs in the golf course, and they're big guys with big arms. I know they must be football players. Yeah.
Yeah.
So were any of the old Browns like members out here? Did they play in the off season?
Oh yeah, well, not when I was here. The only one I guess I really knew here was Cliff Lewis, of course. And I know Otto Graham had belonged here. But Cliff lived near where we lived. And I remember slicing a ball through the woods and hitting a cart. And, geez, it was Cliff Lewis's cart. He came around the corner with a little fire in his eye.